Ban the box is the movement that removes the box, asking about a person's conviction history.
So when a person is applying for a job now, it's typical for there to be a box that says, have you ever been convicted of a felony?
Well, there's been a movement to eradicate that box, to eliminate that box. And we're not asking to overall completely not ask that question. We're saying put it later on in the process. Once the person has been found eligible and qualified, before they offer them the job, they could inquire about that, and then a person has a right to be able to explain. The challenge is when you submit an application or you are asked in any initial interview about any conviction history, then what that normally triggers behind the stigma associated behind fear, that the person, if they're not trained, they're going to discriminate. That application may not make it past that day.
So the first time you went to prison, you were only 19 years old. What was going on in your life at that time, and how were those factors similar for not just yourself, but other young men of color?
Growing up here in America, many of us grew up with a lot of self-hate, and that means that we internalize a lot of the violence we see on TV, in the communities, and at home. And so for many of us, it was growing up and having to deal with that rage. What did we do with that rage? Most of the time it was trying to find ways to do it. And the systems of oppression, the racism we experienced, I experienced in school, the not being able to speak proper English initially, the lift issue I had growing up, forced many of us to support each other. And in doing so without a critical consciousness, forced us to get in what they call gangs. The reality, the conditions that we live under forces many of us to live in the informal economy, in the informal market, that makes us do crimes we don't have to do.
Are you comfortable saying what that crime was?
Not necessarily. I'd rather focus on the message that I have, and why should we focus on someone's past, where the whole character is not measured by one action or few actions, but rather by the overall character.
Somebody might say that there are, frequent incidences of people exiting prison and then committing a crime and going right back to prison. So from the employer's perspective, why should they take that risk?
The question that we normally ask most people, when is enough enough? If we got sentenced at 19, like in my case, 20 years old, and I'm 36 now, why should I be sentenced 16 years later, be under the same sentence of not being able to sustain my family, and then be forced to live off the informal economy that comes with all the madness you hear on the news? And there should always be a nexus between the job responsibility and the actual conviction. So if I got convicted of DUI back in '96, and all of a sudden I'm applying now in 2015 for a job that doesn't require any driving, that conviction should not be used to judge me in obtaining that job if I have all the qualifications that would otherwise allow me to work there.
To get a sense of how prison-happy Americans are, consider that in Germany, only 6% of people convicted get locked up. Compare that to